100
So
million, they're saying.
that's in the article. I read the receivership order and it's unknown. They don't even know how much money's
Unknown.
into this. So, and the assets that they recovered was only 2.1 million.
Hey, I'm not sick anymore, so you have my editing again, not Darryl's. There was a skit that the guys recorded that was supposed to be the intro, but it was so horrendously terrible that Darryl said to cut it out of the video. So, yeah, roll the intro.
But can we talk about something, Darryl? Can we talk about something?
There's a lot to
Everybody
talk about.
talks about change. They say,
Change.
I want change. I
Yeah.
want there to be improvements in my services. I want there to be improvements in the quality of life.
Yeah.
I want to make Canada better.
Oh, but you want me to do something? No,
But
I don't want to
but
do
as
anything.
soon as any change comes forward, it's like this huge amount of noise comes in from, is it like left and right? Is
There's
it
no
like the
change.
have and the have nots? I have no idea. But
There's no
everybody just
change
starts complaining.
because there is no change. There's just the want for change and the need for change, but there's no effort made by most people because the people that actually need to make the effort, they have agendas, TK. They have their
Yeah.
own agendas and like they don't really listen too much unless it helps their agenda.
And when we talk about like politics, I mean, you don't get reelected if you try to make the necessary changes in order to, you know, better the population. You have to sort of like tippy toe around everything to keep everybody happy. Otherwise, you don't get elected again, which means you can't actually do what you're trying to do in the first place. So you try to do some things, you know, quietly and try to figure out how to actually make everybody's lives a little bit better without them noticing. And then you get caught.
Well, but this is the thing. Instead of coming out to everybody and saying, okay, everybody, I got this great plan. These guys own the land already. These guys are capable. These guys are willing to, like, pay DC fees and permitting fees and application fees. And we're not even giving them a break. We're just allowing them to build on this land. It's going to help prices come down. There's going to be, anyways, the whole
Yeah.
narrative, all the narratives, they're all bullshit because clearly we have enough stock. We don't need any more stock right now. We're probably not going to need enough stock for years, TK.
But Daryl, remember, Canada will become the 51st state, and we're going to talk about that later in the show. But
I don't know
based
how
on
that helps anything.
based on everything that is being presented right now, Canada will become the 51st state. But let's
What?
let's let's figure out first what we can do to help our friend Dougie here. Okay.
Well, I don't think Dougie's on board with that idea at all. Doesn't he hate Trump?
Well, we'll talk about it in
We're going to talk
detail.
about that in due time.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there is plenty of stuff going on with real estate, and we got more mortgage fraud on the menu. We've actually got increased sales volume, like positive news,
September sales, we doubled from last year. Our team
doubled from
did
last year.
double the sales in September than we did in September 2024.
How does that compare to the rest of the realtors?
Sales were only up a couple points in September from last year, but it was the best month since January overall for sales. And yeah, interest rates might have had a factor there. You know, people are a little bit
Right?
more optimistic, but my experience is, and based on, you know, looking at our listings and why they were selling, is because sellers' expectations came down. So it wasn't like they got more
Adjustment.
money. It
Yeah.
wasn't like they were all of a sudden, you know, faced with multiple offers and everybody was, you know, super happy with the results. It was because they were like, you know what, maybe I'm not going to get my price. What's the market telling me? Hey, I'll accept that offer now, and then they're going to move forward. But another trend, a very growing trend that I'm experiencing and that I'm hearing all over the board is the I didn't accept that offer a couple months ago and now I regret it syndrome. If you're watching the show, like, comment, and subscribe. Check out the Clips channel. Check out the Skits channel now
No
because there'll be a
skits
new
channel.
video on
No
there.
more skits channel.
Don't check out the Skits
That's
channel.
a
We don't have a
pain in the
Skits channel
ass.
anymore. No,
Yeah.
we don't have it. They cut that part out. If you'd like to book a call with me, there's a link below for a 15-minute phone call. Daryl, what are you promoting?
Substack. Check out my Substack. That thing's on fire, bro. Fire.
Good content.
People are paying me for that thing now. This is
I
getting
love
out
it.
of hand, TK.
I
Great
love it.
content. That's the goddamn truth.
Yeah, like, comment, subscribe. I'm double subscribed. Do it yourself. Didn't get to fix the show, though. Didn't get to fix the show.
Yeah, that's what you keep talking about. But hold on a sec. Back up a sec. So I sent you that message from Instagram. Somebody, was sent me a message and says, "Hey, I can't sell this house I have. Do you know who I could talk to help me sell it because I'm priced right?" That person sent me that note on Instagram, asking for somebody's help. Like, how do I sell this thing?
Yeah.
And it was just what you were talking about before. It's like their expectation, I don't think, are in line with reality, because my first question was like, "Are you priced right?" And they said, "Yes, we're underpriced." And I said,
I'm
"Well,
giving it away.
I hate to
I'm
break
giving
it to
it
you."
away, man. You wouldn't believe the deal I got on this. I've had 30
Yeah.
showings and nobody wants to buy it, but the price
Is
is
underpriced. It's
Fair enough.
underpriced, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, generally, especially when you talk to a realtor, there's only one solution to something not selling, right?
It's a very broad brush that can be used in order to be able to solve
Right.
most of the problems that you're
Hmm.
going to be facing. Because there's other
Well,
issues that come up.
there
No doubt.
are other issues that I'm sure come up, but
Yeah.
nothing that the price can't solve,
Absolutely. Yeah. If
right?
you're not willing to
Or,
clean up the house, we'll drop the price.
well,
If you're
it's
not
either drop it or put money in to fix it.
if
And
you're
it's
not able
like
to fix certain things, if you're not able to get the tenant out, if you're not able to, list it earlier, if you're not able, all those things that could result in a sale
the
that
hole
you
in the
would
roof.
be able to
Like,
get more money for the
yeah.
property, then you won't have to reduce the price. But if you're not willing or able to do any of those things, then you got one option.
Yeah. Well, but that if you're not willing to do that option, then you're
Yeah.
basically fucked. And you can't just sit there going, "I don't understand what's going on." Like, I don't know. Can you? Can you just sit there going, "Hey, like, is there not a price where this thing is going to sell?" There's
Well, let's talk
demand
about
out
this.
there clearly,
Let me
right?
talk about my side of things because I'm on the realtor side.
Yeah.
So first of all, marketing is very important. That's the truth. And that's not just because we do it, but it's because having more buyers come into the property is absolutely paramount to you selling the property. I don't care what anybody says. You need to
Any
have
market.
any market. You need to have more buyers know about your property because there's lots of sales out there. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But what's going on right now that I'm seeing is because I'm going on a lot of appointments where I'm either in competition with other agents or I am hearing from people who were listed previously with other agents is, people are just making bad decisions on the realtor that they're choosing. Like they're really just saying, okay,
Yeah.
what price am I going to get? Oh, you're telling me the number I want to hear. Okay, I'm going to list it with you. Oh, you're telling me a lower fee and miraculously that's going to lead to me getting more money. Okay, yeah, I want to go with you. And so there's a lot of bad decisions that sellers are making right now that's actually putting them in this position. And I'm not saying all realtors, the big realtors, small realtors. I went there the other day. It was a $3 million plus house in a okay neighborhood, beautiful house. And I said, what happened with your last listing? And I said, well, where did that price come from? Did you get any offers, all that kind of stuff. They said, well, we wanted 3.5 million. So when the realtor showed up, she said, all right, I'll add my commission on top and take the listing. No like comparative market analysis on what it's worth, just what do you want? Okay, I'll add that. Then before it even hit the market, she came back and hit him with a 100K price adjustment because she already had the listing signed. So she already knew she had them, so she could push a little bit. Then within a few weeks after that, another 100K. And then a $500,000 price adjustment. The last multiple offer, we're going to do a bidding war, And she actually got it down to the right price,
Mhm.
right? And they got
Did it
offers at that
sell?
price.
Right.
And they said no because
What?
she had basically promised them 700
bidding
grand
war.
more than what they should have been willing to work with from the beginning, And
How are
that's,
people supposed to fucking know when they're
but
supposed to trust you bastards?
I
Honestly,
know, but I'm just saying that is more and more common right now.
I'll
And
bet you that she was
yeah,
a number one realtor,
number one
right?
realtor in the
She
area
would,
sells
yeah,
millions of dollars of properties and is just like
guaranteed sales
the
program,
best in
and
the neighborhood. And
right,
she does so well, makes so much
can't
money.
fail with Gail, right?
And Gail just lists any property at any price because controlling the inventory in the area is her name of the game. And
Yeah.
it's
Fuck you,
actually a
Gail.
great strategy
It's a
for
good
her.
strategy.
It
Fuck
is a
you, Gail.
fantastic strategy
Yeah.
for her to make money. Absolutely. She's
100%.
doing what's best
Numbers
for her
game.
business.
Numbers game. Take
Yeah.
the listing. We talked about this week off camera, right? Where it was like, there's fucking bastards out there. Their strategy is literally that. It's like, just
Yeah.
take it and don't give a shit, and we'll see what happens. And maybe they'll come to grips with reality, and they'll fucking drop the price, and boom, I make $2,000 less. I don't give a fuck, right? As the
Yep.
realtor, you're like, what the fuck do I care if they drop it
You
500
lose hundreds
grand?
of thousands, but I'm still making money. And it's
I'm
like,
making money.
it's sickening, but it's just what it is. So people really have to watch out for that. But in my experience, no matter how much I tell people, they just look at me with their eyes crossed and they're just like, "What do you mean I can't get the same price as my neighbor got in February or last year or whatever it is? My house has got, do you see the way my grass grows? My grass grows towards the sun. This is the way everybody wants it. I'm telling you, I paid a premium for this, and then when the guy walks into my backyard, he's gonna notice it too." I'm like, this is what planet am I on? But let's look at the market watch. We got September numbers that came out. Obviously, prices overall, average prices down 4.7%. So we're in a shrinking market. But when you look at August, prices upticked a little bit.
What's
So,
normal August for sales? Like, what do we have?
brutal. So
5,500 normally? What do we
you
have
with
this time?
September or
5,500?
August?
What numbers are we talking? No, we're talking September numbers
Yeah.
now.
Okay, you said August. So sales were
Oh, did?
5,500
What are they normally? What are they normally?
yeah, I mean, normally, come on,
Average.
we
What's
haven't had a normal
average?
market. I would say in that 5 to 6,000 range. But we
That's
had
a
really
normal
busy.
market?
We had very busy markets. Yeah, just last year was slower. It was 5,100.
Whoa, hold on a sec. That's fantastic. You see, I'm out there right now talking positively about the market, and people think I'm nuts because there's so much blood in the streets, right?
Yeah.
I see all kinds of green shoots out there, TK.
Okay.
All
Well,
kinds.
let me finish the stats first, Daryl. Let's try to
Well, this
keep
is a
on one
beautiful
topic.
thing. Yeah, no, but
Okay.
I'm trying to put it into context, TK. This episode is brought to you by Shrubs.me.
They say AI is taking everyone's jobs, and honestly, no one knows whose is safe. But here's the thing. When you own your audience, your content, and your brand, you don't wait for someone else to save you. You build your own future. Shrubs puts everything you create in one beautiful hub. More reach, more fans, more income. Shrubs.me. Your future, your rules. And when you get there, I'll be right there with you, helping you thrive and grow.
All segments of the market are down. Detached, semi-detached, townhouse, condos. The one that's down the most, semi-detached.
Semi-detached is
Next,
down the most.
detached. So now we've had a switch. This is important.
What?
Now we've had a
Condos are
switch.
good?
Condos are the least
The least
down year over year. Yes.
Ooh.
So this has been what the growth has
This
been.
is
It's just been
resale,
like
resale condo.
resale condos. So we've been just getting hit really hard in the condo market for so long that eventually it reaches a bottom where people are like, okay, this makes a little bit more sense.
Hold on a sec, though. If it's listed new on the MLS,
can I finish? Let me finish my sentences.
No.
Let me just finish the
understand
sentence.
the stats.
Okay, and I'll tell you the stats, and then you can ask all the questions you want.
I can't
Okay,
remember.
So condo prices have been going down. They've been getting beaten hard for the last couple of years, and people were resilient. The buyers were saying, "Well, detached house prices are doing okay," and sellers were were refusing to be able to try to take less money because they say, "Well, that's just condo prices." And so, like I said, in our September numbers, it wasn't just why did we sell double this year compared to last year? Well, all of a sudden we had more showings. All of a sudden we had better offers. No, we were still getting low offers. We were still having trouble selling properties. They were still selling a lot of them under asking. We did have some over askings, but it was most of them under asking. And it was because sellers were finally just like, you know what? I've tried, or I've heard, or I'm afraid, or whatever it is. I'm willing to take less money than I thought. And so therefore that leads to price shrinkage in the detached market. Now you can talk, Darryl. Go ahead. What kind of questions do you got?
The condo resales, do they count the new ones that are listed on the MLS? Do those count as resale in the stats now?
Yes. This is all MLS sales in the Toronto Real Estate Board on MLS.
But if the builder has like standing inventory and he lists it on the MLS, it counts as resale? Yeah. So these numbers are all fucked up anyways, but
that's a small percentage. That's
small
wrong.
percentage.
But even detached builders right now have got MLS listings that are listed by them. There's quite a few. Again, very, very small percentage. So it doesn't affect the numbers.
I don't know. There's small numbers now.
It doesn't affect the numbers.
Doesn't affect the numbers.
No.
Okay.
No,
Well,
you got a 2%. You got a 2%.
They're going to be double dipped because they're going to count
at best.
They're going to count as a pre-con sale, and they're going to count as a resale.
It's a good thing we're not really doing a lot of the pre-con market analytics because honestly, that thing's the biggest smoke and mirrors game that ever
It's
existed.
fucked. And now,
Okay.
now you see,
It's all
like,
self-reported developers saying what they sold or what they didn't sell.
right.
Come on.
And now
Yeah.
Mattamy just shut down a site. They canceled the launch that they did. And if you, I don't know if you remember, we talked about the
Low
launch.
rise, like freehold. What is it?
No, it's like I think a mid-rise building,
Okay.
but they only
Interesting. Not
sold like
surprised.
10% of it. It's in Etobicoke. They only sold. We talked about it, and I was like, man, why the hell are these guys launching right now? It must be to just keep the wheels moving, right? Because it
Build up
made
their
no
email, their data
sense.
list. You know, they
I don't
just
know what the
build up
hell.
their list. Now they're like, all right, we got more people. Let's start sending them the real project in freaking Port Colborne. You
Well,
know,
but
at $500 a square foot.
the thing is that those were part of some sales stats that already looked fucking weak and pathetic a few months ago. Now
Exactly.
they're gonna come out of those stats. So right, the
Exactly.
sales just got worse than they already were. And we're at
Yeah.
like 90% of what we're normally at in the pre-con market, right? Or 10%. We've lost 90% of the market. And the 10% isn't real because those projects aren't going
They're
forward,
not actually
right?
selling. Yeah. But it
Right.
does give you some sort of indication as to what people are doing. And so obviously I wouldn't rely on them per se, but I would at least say they're helpful for developers making decisions. You know,
I don't know.
if they see an uptick, they see it, you know, they see 10% being sold and then it gets canceled, they can use that information to make decisions. So it's
Well,
not the end of the day, but
but if you see in Oakville, Green Park blows up the market there at 675 a foot, and you're just around the corner in Etobicoke there,
yeah,
trying to sell something, and you're already having trouble, it's like, okay, we better pull the plug on this thing now because we're definitely canceling this, right? Like,
yeah.
there's no fucking hope in hell right now that they're gonna get, to construction, which
I
is
want to also point out one thing, which you would be interested in too, is the number of sales over 2 million.
the number of sales over 2 million. What did they
Yep.
do?
Number of sales. I mean, you still have like a huge amount of transactions, 3,000 roughly transactions
Yeah.
over 2 million.
2 million is a drop in the bucket, TK. 2 million is a deposit, my friend. We're looking for much more than that. These are
Yeah.
very, very big units. So I'm not so interested in that. I'd be more interested in like 5 million plus, how that market is doing.
Treb doesn't monitor that,
No, I
but that's
can't.
something that some people do. Some
Well,
people do
there's
have
not,
those stats. So I think it's over 4 million. They look at luxury stuff. If you
yeah,
look at like Sotheby's or one of those type of brokerages, they're looking
yeah.
at that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's not much stuff because there's not much stuff, right? Like, there's only so much inventory, and it's crazy numbers over 5 million. Like, there's houses for 30 million, there's condos for 40 million for sale. There's
Yeah.
all kinds of nuttiness. But you
Yeah.
know what, TK? I think we should talk about the mortgage fraud thing. This is
Oh,
fucking big. Sussman, definitely a Jew, right?
Sus.
That guy's a Jew,
The whole,
no doubt.
system, that whole, what do they call it?
Profession?
Syndicate
Syndicate?
was all Jewish. Yeah.
Well, the names that were in all the articles were other Jewish families, right?
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
Greenspans and the Goldsteins, right? I'm reading this
The
going,
Rosenfarbs,
right?
like
Rosenfarbs,
everybody lost money on that
right? It's
deal.
like
And you know what? It was the holiest of days this week, like why did it have to go down in such an unholy way?
unbelievable, right?
You
Like
know?
on the
Like
high
the thing,
holidays,
the high
Sussman
holiday,
pulls the
Sussman.
rug. How did this all come about? How did people know? How did, like, there's some pretty like smart names on that list. So this guy, I mean, you know what pisses me off the most about
Tell
this
me.
guy?
Let's tell the story first. Then tell me your anger. Okay, so you've
Fine.
got somebody who's
Remind
got
me
a
to tell you my
mortgage. Okay,
anger,
I'll
though.
tell you, Darryl. What angers you about Sus?
The most.
He was a mortgage broker, and for the last few decades, he was doing a mortgage syndicate. So this
Was
is
he a
very normal.
broker?
He's a
Or
mortgage
he
broker,
was
licensed broker.
Mhm.
And so then he basically, over time, which is normal for mortgage brokers, would be doing private mortgages. So then all of a sudden he's getting people to bring in money, and that he's lending it for people for construction, for second mortgages, first mortgages, private rates. And so it's 10, 12%, 14%, whatever it is, in order to be able to attract capital to say, hey, you're going to get a better return here than you would other places. And of course, it should be secured, and it should have some sort of investment pro forma attached to it. And there should be, under the regulation, securities commission, they're going to be making sure that everything is done properly, and that there's a lot of mortgage brokers who do this legitimately. Okay. But over time, and all the other frauds that we have been able to and discover, as far as the ones that we've talked about on the show, or that the news has reported on, there always seems to be some sort of luxury lifestyle that has, come into play. And so this guy's living in Barrie. He's enjoying,
That
summers in
doesn't sound very
Muskoka.
luxurious. Okay. Muskoka's
He's got
okay.
that's his Barrie address, but he's got this, Muskoka
Acreage.
lifestyle, going with all the different crowds of people and everything else like that. And of course, he's taking their money, and he is paying previous investors their dividends for decades, basically, right? As a Ponzi scheme, in order to be able to keep up the facade that he's got this great investment. And so, of course, when the Rosenfarbs and the Gold Greenspans and everybody else comes, and the Goldsteins tell their friends and say, hey, I've been getting this great return. And I've heard people brag about that too. Like, huh, my guy could get you such a great return. You're only getting 6%.
Yeah.
I'd feel ashamed if I were you.
Yeah, because
And
he's
it's
getting
like,
a referral fee.
right? And so all of a sudden now, the one family had $42 million.
43 million, and this is a
Okay.
smart family, right? And
Right.
that's 43% of the loss, by the way, right?
No, it's actually unknown.
100
So
million, they're saying.
that's in the article. I read the receivership order, and it's unknown. They don't even know how much money's
Unknown.
into this. So, and the assets that they recovered was only 2.1 million. So even when they actually
What?
looked around and said, okay, what's left? He only had 2.1 million. So it tells me right away there's some sort of, there's bleeding. He's spending the money doing something.
Yeah,
And
paying
then
the
maybe
interest,
maybe he
paying
was
the
legitimate
juice.
in the beginning, but eventually over time, his luxury lifestyle just kept getting, eating up these funds. And that's where eventually close to $100 million disappears. Yeah.
But it's absolutely insane. Well, I read somewhere that it really just started to unravel when the market started to fall apart, that it was actually fairly legit for years, right? And
No,
then,
no, no, no. It was legit, as in people got their returns.
but
So
he
there was
wasn't buying property. Like there wasn't,
no.
like, it's only Barrie. You can drive there in an
Listen,
hour.
I heard, and this has nothing to
How
do with
dumb
this
are
guy.
people?
I never, this has nothing to do with the guy, and it has nothing to do with anybody I know personally, but I heard cocaine and hookers are very expensive. I don't know. That's just what I heard. Somebody told me that one time.
Okay, yeah.
And so, things disappear all of a sudden, and you don't have the money that you're supposed to have.
So if I was talking to this Sussman guy, would he do this a lot? Like,
I
would he
don't
be,
know,
would he be
but his
like
nose looked
Jose
like
Canseco?
it sure could blow a lot of snot out of it. That's all I can say.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. So thank you for that, TK.
But that's what happens, Darryl. These are the
Well,
things that go on behind
where's the due
scenes.
diligence though? Like, where's the property? Where, like, how come you put 43 million bucks in there? You don't do
Yeah.
a fucking audit of like something? You don't
Not
send a
when you've
guy
done it
to
in
bury?
when you've done it in the past. When
God
you look
damn
at
it.
it.
People are
Okay.
so dumb. Well, listen.
Well, let's be honest here. Let me
Yeah.
can I just use you as an example,
Uh-oh.
please? You've got an investment right now. You're wearing the hat. We've got a great project. It's
Boom.
fantastic. It is the best thing to put your money into, since 2013.
Yeah.
But do you think every person who
can't.
invested money with you thoroughly analyzed every detail of that performance?
But
Thoroughly
hold on a
analyzed
second here, mister.
every word in the contract
One
with the
moment,
investors?
I don't know. But yeah, you're right. So they trust Cranston Capital.
They trust you. They trust the
No,
project.
no.
They trust Cranston.
First
they trust
Cranston.
their friend. But
Yeah.
but what do you mean? I don't know Cranston. I trust you. And the people I bring in.
But
is
you're
the same
dumb
thing.
if you don't read the thing. Like the
I'm
thing
not
says
saying I didn't
all
read
that.
it.
Not
but
you.
it's-
Not
but
you
it's-
personally.
I'm just saying. But that is what it is.
You're a
though,
genius,
is-
TK.
That is what it is. I'm
Let
far
me
from
rub
it.
your tushy a little just to make
Okay.
sure.
That's far from it. I'm just saying that this is what happens.
most
These are
people-
these inner circles.
Yeah.
And then it's a big thing like 42 million. I got 42 million. I
Well,
can
hold
send you
on.
a check tomorrow. Let me talk to my financial controller. You need
Right.
42 million? I got 42 million. How much? You only got 3 million in there.
I don't know
What are
that
you
guy.
earning?
I've never met that guy. If you
I'm
know
just-
that guy, okay,
just-
send him my way,
Send it
please.
away.
If you know the guy who's
Call
just
them.
yelling about having 43 million and ready
I've
to
met-
write a check,
I've met lots of guys like that. Not 42 million, but
but do they write the check? Okay.
I don't
met
know.
lots
But
of
I've met
guys
lots
like
of
that.
guys who say that.
They don't write no checks.
500
Okay.
grand, throwing 500 grand, it's nothing.
But okay. So I was thinking about this. Okay. First of all,
That's the
okay,
story. Darryl, what angers you about sus? Tell me
Well,
what angers you, Darryl. What really grinds your gears?
Sussman.
Sussman. But it's better to say sus because that's what the kids say now when it's suspect.
He is sus. Okay. I don't know. I pulled up a picture of this guy, and what burns my ass the most is the guy's got a great fucking hairline. Okay. He's got great fucking hair, TK.
Sus!
What? How? Okay. If you're pulling a Ponzi scheme, okay,
Yeah.
how do you sleep? How do you still have hair stuck in your head?
I saw a lot in the
Fucking asshole.
discovery for the receivership. I saw a lot of plane tickets to Turkey. There was a lot. There was
Right.
annual tickets purchased to
Yes.
fly to Turkey. I don't
For
know.
a
Could have been
touch-up?
vacation. I'm not
A
sure. what it
yearly
was.
touch up. Okay.
But he was
So-
there.
Okay, so the other thing I was thinking before we started recording is okay, like this the headline is $100 million mortgage fraud, right? And that will likely be the title of the show and the thumbnail. Is that a big number these days? Like, is that like, are we desensitized to how big it is? Like, what was the last one? Was the last one 80 million? And we just kind of like, I feel like there was 400 million. Like these numbers are staggering. Like, could you imagine you had
If you're BlackRock, I imagine
$100
100 million is not a lot of
Nothing.
money, but I
This
would
is
say most
crazy.
investment firms that would be sort of like their like that would be like what they have. Like that's like the total amount of capital that they have invested in a lot of these major ones. And obviously
How
there's
can you
much
be
smaller,
so
there's much bigger.
reckless with
So that's like
43
everything.
million?
So 100 million's a lot. Yeah.
But how can the Goldsteins be so reckless? $43 million that just is going to disappear into the abyss.
I'm sure it was over time. I'm sure it was little by little. I'm sure all
Little by
those
little?
dividend checks were getting paid until interest rates went up, until people started defaulting.
Didn't we like sell a property here? Here's like some money. Here's 30 million back. We just
the mortgages
sold
aren't
it.
getting secured in some cases.
They're
The
not.
mortgages
There are
aren't
no
getting secured.
mortgages.
So it's like instead of in these syndicates, what happens is
What's that, a
initially
fake document?
it's a deal. I'm gonna give you an example. You know this. Initially, it's a deal. I got this great property that you're gonna have secured interest on, and you're gonna lend me the money, and this is your rate of return and your preferred rate, and and you're gonna make a lot of money. Eventually, it turns into a fund.
Okay.
We have all these properties. Remember that first one we did? Oh, we got another one. Oh, we need money for deposits. So eventually it turns into a fund and the regulation stops. And eventually then the syndicate just becomes, I'm giving you returns. And people stop asking questions. They're like, they got so many properties, that they got so many things going on. And then, well, they're just making money. This is their strategy. It's lending money to
When
high
does the
net worth
regulation
individuals
stop?
at
When
low
does it-
loan to values. And
When does regulation stop? When you
it
just
doesn't.
said
I'm not saying it stops as in it's allowed to stop. What I'm saying is eventually people stop looking into it. So at first it's secured against a certain property. They know the deal. They ask every question. What's that guy's income? How much equity does he have? What does the appraisal say?
Right.
And then eventually more and more properties that are secured over decades eventually turns into a fund. And then the fund just says, we have a lot of mortgages out right now that are all going to be. But when you look at the receivership, there are a few like mortgages that are registered and some creditors that are registered, and then obviously a lot of unregistered ones. But like, it's not 100 million. It's literally a couple $1,000,000. Like it's like nothing.
this is crazy. So like, so what happens in a guy's head? Okay, where it's where you make the decision. Okay, so okay, fine. You start, you buy a property, people invest in it, everybody makes money, you do it again, or maybe you buy an apartment and everybody hangs on, and you realize, holy shit, like I can raise money, and you keep doing it. And then, I mean, at some point you have to go, hang on a sec. I don't even need a fucking property. Like, I just need some papers that say I have a property, because no one's even looking. right?
They don't
No,
even go to the property.
nobody gives a shit. They just want the money.
Where's my dividend? And no, he paid me out. And I wonder what the stories will come out. We had the BG Wealth Group story that we covered, and so we got to hear firsthand from the people who lost money, the victims. And so we got to hear the stories that were being told in order for them to be able to, add more money or to be able to stop asking for their money back and all that kind of stuff. So it was a real, crooked individual who did that. So I wonder if Suss had that same experience, or if he was able to generate enough capital. So if anybody ever said, "Hey, I need to pull out 500,000 or 200,000," or he was able to actually give it back to them. And so for decades, he was able to actually build that reputation of, "Hey, you get your returns, and when you want your money back, you also get your money back."
Right.
Because that would make sense to me that it would have happened a lot sooner.
Yeah.
The house of cards would have fallen a lot sooner if he wasn't able to pay back somebody their initial principal at one point.
So, but
Right?
how many of these actually start legit and turn sour
All of them.
versus you think they all start
All of
legit?
them. All
None
of
of them
them.
start with bad intentions. Nobody,
No,
nobody
I
realized back
believe in
in,
the human race. I don't think that that's the case. I don't think someone who's skilled enough and smart enough to raise that amount of money is bad at their core. I just think that they got my experiences. They got demons. They got they want a nice car. They want to drive Ferraris. They want to fly the world. They like certain things that they want to put up their nose. They have all sorts of things that distract them in their life, and then they start falling from grace, and it's a hard hit to the ego. And next thing you know, you're bending the truth a little bit in order to keep raising money.
this is a great segue into what I wanted to talk about because I had lunch or breakfast with this guy this week.
Yeah.
And his job is to, raise money for other companies. So, you
Mhm.
got these EMD dealers like Cranston
Yeah, yeah,
Capital
yeah,
or Graybrook or there's tons of them, right? You know about this. Everybody knows
yeah.
about this, where you can invest in other real estate, right? And so this guy, he's my age and he's sick and tired of calling people and explaining why the deals went bad and why they're bad. And he's having this like a conscious issue, right? Where he's like, he can't deal with this. When he was selling, he was like, thought everything was cool because there's underwriters and it's like big operations, right? And nobody
Yeah.
thinks the down, like nobody even thinks it's possible, right? Because everybody's wrapped up in this thing and they
It's gonna
believe
make
it.
money. Gonna make money, guaranteed.
Well, I mean, up until a certain point, it's the truth, right? And then all of a sudden, it's no longer the truth. And everybody is blindsided because everybody's drinking the same Kool-Aid, right? And so now, first of all, I mean, I guess you come to Jesus moment when all of a sudden you can't even do your job, even if you wanted to lie to people. But some people go, oh shit, it's like these people that went to war and they realized there was no weapons of mass destruction. Like I just killed people for nothing. You have all these people in the lending business, in the mortgage business, the real estate business who didn't realize that they were full of shit until it was too late. They didn't realize how many people's lives they ruined until it was too late because they didn't know. They weren't trained, weren't smart enough, never lived through anything. If you're in your 30s, you never lived through nothing, right? You don't know cycles, you don't know what could happen. You have no idea. You just think it's like boomtown in this place. Oh, all I got to do is wear a Rolex and a suit and tell everybody I got 10 units at the Shangri-La, and that's all I got to do for real. And then you get all these people that come here, they can't get jobs, so they just sell real estate because everybody's right. It's like this crazy fucking thing. So, but how are people? The guy's biggest problem is like, okay, this whole industry is definitely changing, right? Like, why would people invest in these condos anymore? This whole system, right? Like, I'm going to be out of a job. What do I do? What do I do? What am I going to do next? Right. Because who's going to buy into this? Because those things, I mean, they're not Ponzi schemes if the properties work out, right? But if they don't work out, all of a sudden they're Ponzi schemes.
Ponzi schemes is you're using new investors' capital in order to pay previous investors' returns.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not generated from
Fine,
the
they're not
investment
Ponzi
itself.
schemes, right? You're
So
right. It's not a Ponzi scheme.
Whether
But
or not
falls
the market
apart.
falls apart or not, if you're using the inflow capital as an outflow dividend yield, it's a
Yeah.
Ponzi scheme.
No, those guys, they shut off the dividends, they shut off the yields, they don't let anybody get out, and they ride it out and they see what happens, which is unfortunately like the smartest thing to do in those kind of situations.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, for the person that invested, that's what it feels like, right? They're like, this shouldn't have happened. It was supposed to be like this. You promised me, Vinny. Vinny, you told me just give you my life savings. You're gonna triple it. What the fuck happened?
It's sad. I mean, some of those families that are losing in the sus case, I'm sure can afford to lose some money, but I bet you there's also a
43
ton of
million.
people. There's a ton of people just like the BG Wealth group of people where that was their life savings
Yeah.
and that they lost everything. And that
Yeah.
is going to now basically put them in a position to go back to work, not be able to retire, suicide. Like there's a lot of stuff out there.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with a couple of people right now. I got one client right now who unfortunately had some serious medical conditions happen in her life and she didn't have a great retirement plan, so working a little bit longer than what she hoped to was the plan. But a serious medical condition came up and she can't work and now she's losing her house
Mhm.
and the amount of money she's going to have left over is not enough to take it all on. And so it's just like stress
How
and stress and stress. And she's in the hospital right now. Like she's just living in the hospital. Like there
How
was
big a
supposed,
medical bill is that
it's
fucking
not a medical
changes
bill.
everything.
It's her health condition. So she's not able to work anymore.
Not
And
able
so
to
then,
work.
yeah. And she's in the hospital. She's been in the hospital for like a month. And I was like, when are you getting out? She's like, they're telling me end of October now. And I'm like, so these are all the things that, people face in their life and then the stress. And it's really, really, really paralyzing,
How can
you
we
know?
allow that in this country? Like, how is
Well,
that
that's
even?
why the people who are like the average person, like trust the banks, trust the mainstream, trust the things that everybody in our comment sections will tell you. You can never trust them. Like, they're printing your money, you're devaluating your currency. It's like, okay, but like this is what people, can rely on long term. And that's why people go and get jobs that have pensions. They don't want to be investing their own money. They want to have just a simple plan that's guaranteed, right? And it seems like the offset, and I say this very lightly. I say this very like this isn't everybody, but generally there's a little bit of greed involved in why these people put them in this position to be able to get blown up like this,
Sure.
right? They weren't okay with your average mutual fund. They were like, "No, I want more." Or I made a lot of mistakes. Now I'm trying to catch up. There's a
Hmm.
lot of that. That,
Hmm.
that, that, that puts these people in these positions that ends up meaning that they're going to take a big loss on the chin. And it's sad, but like everything else in life, we play the hand we're dealt. So you got to be able to, pick yourself up and carry forward. That's
Well,
that.
but so what are people doing now? Like, what are people's plans? Because clearly, Toronto can't handle 50 to 70,000 realtors anymore. We clearly don't need all the mortgage brokers that we had. And I don't know what the numbers were on mortgage brokers, but that's even easier to get than your real estate license. Those commissions are great. Like, if you know what you're doing and you
Yeah.
don't give a shit about people, you can make a fortune doing that. There's guys out there.
Mortgage brokers, I mean, if there's no sale, yeah, they still have to renew their mortgage. So, I mean, if
Well,
someone
but
said to me, should I become a mortgage agent right now? Is that a good idea or a bad idea? I'd say it's just as good of idea as it's always been. If you really love it and that's what you want to do and you're going to work hard at it and make it into a career. Like, I wouldn't be
the
like
point is that there's
turning them.
less need for as many as there are. Okay. And
Yeah.
the whole thing is like not gonna like the whole thing is changing because of all kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
One, clearly, there's scams and fraud all over the place. Okay. And
Yeah.
that has to get fixed, right? Clearly, the pre-construction market is abysmal death disaster that is not going to come back the same way that it went out. Okay. That
Mhm.
thing needs to be rejigged on so many levels. Okay. Clearly, we have it's too easy to get your license to trade this gigantic, most important asset of anybody's lifetime. So, like, there's a lot of things that need to change. And on
But
top
but
of
that's
that,
not but that's not going to
but
change.
hold on a sec. On top of it, the technology is definitely eliminating a great deal of parts of all those parts of the industry, right?
Sure.
100%. Like
Well,
planners and surveyors and
I get
all
it.
the lawyers and
Yeah.
everybody. Right. So what is everybody going to do now? Because like, is it realistic to think that the market's coming back in the next 6 months, 12 months?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not at
I
all.
don't think
We got
so either.
51% of mortgages to be renewed over the next 2 years. Okay. So when
Yeah.
they looked at everybody other than RBC, because they don't release these numbers, but out of all the other banks, they
Where
have
across Canada?
across Canada,
Yeah.
51% of mortgages right now are in some sort of fixed term that have got, a 2% interest rate or thereabouts. And over the next 2 years, over that, because it's a 5-year term, they are going to be renewing their mortgage, which means even though we've got rising unemployment, we've had, this year Q2, a contracting economy, even though, we're all looking around us going like, holy smokes, life is more expensive than it's ever been. There's still 51% of mortgage holders who haven't even started to have to pay more money every single month.
Mhm.
Okay, think about
Mhm.
that. Like we're just starting. It's just the beginning now. They're starting to lower interest rates. Okay, that's a sign that they know something really bad is coming, and that we're going to continue to see more and more people forced to sell their homes, which means that there's going to be only a rising inventory, that there's only going to be more and more people who are going to need to sell, and that buyers are going to be less and less because buyers are going to be faced with those other economic struggles. As if that $1,000 a month comes out of my pocket and goes towards more interest every single month, not principal, just interest, that means
Yeah.
that $1,000 that I normally would have been putting into the economy doesn't happen. Are you a real estate agent and you're looking to make a change anywhere in Ontario? Guess what? We're hiring. Franklin Associates, #1 team in the GTA for all Remax teams, #1 team for all teams from all companies for number of units sold throughout Toronto. So if you're looking to make a change, best decision I ever made was to join Franklin Associates. Go to jointeamleo.com and we can set up a call.
So, but you wouldn't have thought that this last month would have had a normal amount of sales and a minuscule dip in average sale price, right? Like that would not have been your forecast, would it have been? Because it seems like
What do you mean
odd.
sale prices? I mean, they went down 4.7% from last year, even though sales were up.
4.7% from last year, same
Yeah.
month. I thought I read somewhere like 0.4% from last month, which I don't
No,
give a
last
fuck
month
about
actually ticked
last
up a
year.
little bit.
Right.
But the
That's the
bottom line is
trend I give a shit about.
the trend is down over a year. So this is a market that doesn't just all of a sudden when the rates went up in
There's your
2022, we saw some really big changes. This year was our first shock to the system that we saw, which was in July and August, where now we started seeing detached prices come down. And that's evident now. Detached prices are actually depreciating more than condo prices, okay, based on the September sales. And so I don't think that that's going to be I don't think that's going to happen again. I think the shock from the economy started this year around July. That's kind of when everyone just woke up. All those people who are just like, yeah, everybody else is not doing great, and da 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 da, all sort of came to the light, and were like, okay, maybe my situation is not so good, or I really don't think the situation's getting better. Therefore, I'm willing to sell for less. So that's why we saw prices decline in the summer. But I don't think we're going to see this major drop in prices again for a little while. But it's going to be a very slow decline for the next 2 years
right.
at least, because you got 51% of the mortgages still being renewed. So you still have a lot of people who are not going to be able to afford the houses that they're in anymore. They can't afford an extra $1,000 a month. We
Sure.
used to talk about every household only has $250 left at the end of the month of disposable
Well,
income.
how
How
many
can
of
they
them are
afford
going
a
to lose
thousand
their
dollars more in
jobs?
interest?
How
And
many of
then
those people will lose their
and
jobs?
that'll all be compounded over the next couple of years because as money comes out of the economy, right? So now that's when prices start to fall and we start to see them slowly leak. So, you're talking about, well, sales went up this and that. Well, that's great, but the trend is still going to be downwards long term. And that people right now who aren't selling, who are just kind of humming and hawing about, I'll wait till next year and all that kind of stuff, are going to find out the hard way because that's what I'm seeing it. I've been living this market for 3 years.
So, but do you also like there's reports out there and a few people talking about, well, a couple of things. One being the first time homeowner has re-entered the market and the $350,000 condo is back. Mixed with, let me add this into
Realtor
the soup.
narrative. Sure.
Uh, well, I mean, a lot of this stuff we talk about is realtor narratives. I
I
mean,
know.
everything that you're saying is like from a meeting at on Thursday morning.
But
You
what I'm
know?
trying to say is like this is like they're just like they're back. No, it's like finally a $350,000 condo was reduced enough for it to make sense.
Right. But
You
but
know?
there are people buying. And on
Yeah.
top of that, there is a lot of people, and I don't know, you've probably heard of it. I mean, I keep hearing about it all over the place where people are pooling money together or making funds or whatever the fuck you want to call these things to buy up bulk batches of condos from standing inventory and developers.
Yeah. I
Have
like
you
that.
heard that?
No, but like we've been talking about it, but I don't have like an
That
example. I'm
happens
sure it's
like,
all behind closed doors.
well, see
But
that,
when they have 25,000 units right now standing inventory. So all the
and more
developers right now
coming. Yeah.
who are all have completed projects are looking around at each other going like, what do we do with this remaining inventory? We were keeping it because we thought it was a great idea to sell it for more later, but now we need to sell it. And
Yeah.
so obviously Green Park said it's not
Blow it out
worth
the
it for
door.
us
Yeah.
to hang on to it. So they sold it at discount prices. Other developers don't have that luxury, I'm sure, right? Smaller guys. And other developers are thinking about what they can do. But what they don't want to do is affect sales. What I'm seeing is I'm seeing a lot of developers now listing low rise, freehold, detached homes in these great neighborhoods that they just built that everyone overpaid $2.5 million for, and all these kind of like obscure parts of the GTA, but there's quite a few of them. And then the developer, because they had homes left, have listed those homes for sale, and they are undercutting everybody. They're listing them for way lower than they originally sold them for. I
Yeah.
imagine it's a break-even price based on just like rough numbers, and they're just happy to be able to move the product, which means resale in that area gets killed because now everyone's like, well, why would I pay more when the developer's selling it for less? And the developers are obviously going to
How am I
wait
going to
until
renew? Fuck.
they're
Right.
yeah, they're gonna wait until the time's right that they're gonna blow it out. But if you got 25,000 units overall, there's a lot of units that'll be coming to market brand new at prices that are way less than what they originally sold for. My point to all this is they will try to protect their interests as much as they can. So maybe listing some, seeing what the market's like, understanding, their situation. They got 3 units. Hey, let's be patient. They got 70. They might say, hey, group of investors, here's a great deal for you. And I think that that's what people need to understand and on how you sell in this market. This is really, really crucial. Okay. There needs to be a perceived discount in this market. Okay. So you need to be able to offer something to people. The reason Green Park came out and why we talked about it is because everyone was like, "Wow, 675 a square foot. Oh my gosh." But in the reality of things, next year everything will be 675, maybe even cheaper.
Mhm.
And so like in that location, right? Oakville, right? And so when you go to market and you're going to sell something, you have to come out first at a discount. If the market's here, you come out here just below and then you'll sell because people are going to say, "Wow, I'm getting a deal." What will happen is between now and closing, you're going to find out that you actually sold it at the right price, and 3 months later, it's actually going to be selling for cheaper. So
Right.
but when
But
you
it,
try to sell at the right price, everyone goes, "Yeah, that's fair. That makes sense. It's worth $1 million. That's what everyone right now is willing to pay."
right.
But it takes you 2 months to sell it, and by that time, it's too late. So you got to
Sellers don't,
perceived discount. That's how you price homes right
I
now. That's how
get
you
it,
get them sold.
but sellers don't derive their price from the market.
Tomorrow's market. They derive
No,
it from yesterday's.
no market. They derive it from an Excel spreadsheet. Okay. This is what we need to fucking get on this house. That's the sale price. Okay. And they'll find evidence somewhere that makes it make sense to them. And it's like, what process will we have to go through to figure out the truth? How many fucking realtors are the idiots here, right? Giving us
Yeah.
the bad advice. Or I don't know. I guess some people might actually be right and get lucky. No? Like, have you ever
Like a
you said
seller?
it, yeah, you said before that we did it at their price and they were right, like the old guy lying in bed in the
Yep.
hospital.
Obviously. Yeah. Obviously that happens. Right.
Sometimes it
So, and
happens.
it still will happen in this market. Like there'll still be the type of properties out there that are going to be more attractive to buyers. And
Well,
that's never going to change. But the
well, and
bottom
when
line is
marketing
this.
is important, though, when like you say, when marketing is so important, though, maybe sometimes the wrong realtor, not just the fucking price, could be the solution, right? There are definitely, and this is how a lot of people get fucked, even in a crazy market. It's like, if the answer is always just cut the fucking price and let's get this thing out of here, maybe it is like the right realtor with the right marketing plan or a different marketing plan, or I don't fucking know.
But also like
Can't just be price.
It's all one big puzzle, I like to call it. Okay.
Like this
Every
show.
piece of the puzzle has to be in place perfectly for you to be able to get the most amount of money. Marketing is one piece, the right buyer is the right one piece, pricing is one part, all that kind of stuff. But market knowledge also is another one. Like if you need to sell your home and that you end up pricing it too high, you're not timing it right, you're waiting a month too long, you're comparing the wrong houses, you don't accept the right offer, you end up not getting the most amount of money. And so if your realtor only sells 2 houses a year or hasn't sold anything or, doesn't care about you because all they do is sell in that neighborhood and they just want signs on the lawn, then you're also going to get bad advice from them when the time comes.
Yeah.
And so when you have somebody who's got this huge amount of market share, who's obviously exposed to a lot of sales, they're going to be like, and that's what I'm experiencing right now, is look, I know this offer is less than what you wanted, but it's going to get lower. And I'm dealing with those right now. Everybody's coming back to me, month, 30 days, 2 weeks. Okay, you know what? Let's consider that offer. And you know what? It's not what we wanted, but I'm going to save money on my purchase and I'm going to get investments from this and that and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, great. I'm going to call back that agent and I'm going to say, my guys are ready to look and entertain that offer. Can you bring it back for me? Let me see what I can do. And they're like, oh, TK, I got good news. We're still interested. We haven't bought yet. It's definitely something that meets our criteria. Let's just look at the sale price of our home now to do the math to figure out what we can pay for yours. Oh, it's down 75,000. It's down 100,000.
Spreadsheet, right?
Right. It's less now because we need to sell our home for X in order to be able to pay you what we paid you 2 months ago. And now the sale price of our home is lower. So therefore we need to come in lower. And then you know what my seller says? The same thing they said 2 months ago. Screw them. I can't believe those jerks. They want to buy my house for less than it's worth and and it's just like, hey, this is a cycle that you will experience in real estate right now with your sellers, right? Is that I'm never really happy with the real price of my home and I'm chasing the market down.
Either way, even on the way
sell
up,
early,
it's like I
get
left
it done
money on the
now.
table, right?
You'll be happy later, I promise.
You sell for 200 over asking and you're still like, shit, we should have held out for one more round of offers, right? You're never happy. No one's ever happy. Can't be happy. How can anybody be happy in this fucking environment, TK?
So
it's a goddamn gong show everywhere.
Let's talk about how to get a good deal in this market.
How to get a good deal. Forget about a good deal in this market, TK. You can find the best deal in the world. The money.
Fine. You need to buy. You need to buy. You need to buy.
You need to buy.
You need to move. You're a first-time buyer. How do you buy a property in this market?
You got to have cash, bro. No, listen, it depends on what you're buying. But
you're buying a home. You're buying a semi-detached home in central Toronto.
What are you buying? What's the question? First of all,
you're buying a semi-detached home in central Toronto. How do you get a good? How do you get the best deal?
How much is that? 1.2, 1.4? How do you
Let's say
get the
1.2.
best deal? You fucking first of all, how did you get your down payment? I want to know. Like what?
You're qualified. You got the money. You're a first-time buyer. Who cares?
First-time buyer. Yeah. So how do you get something you can afford? You have to live in Kazakhstan, I think, because there's no way that the math works.
Your budget's 1.2.
Assuming you can afford this thing somehow, and you're not too picky about where you live, you should fucking pepper the area with offers and see what sticks. That's what I would say. Go with low balls all over the place. Have no concern for anybody's feelings whatsoever and see who the fuck bites, because somebody might bite. They might take your crazy offer, or you may get a whole bunch of sign backs, right? And you can you can play around.
And there's people out there now who have listings.
Was I right? Was I right?
You're close. That's part of it. Yeah.
Is that good?
And so absolutely.
Did I do okay?
So you did great. And so bottom line is there's gonna be people who are listed. I have listings of my own. I won't tell you which ones, but people are just like, just tell them to bring me the offer lower.
Get
I'm like,
me
no,
a fucking offer.
we need to list it at the price that we need to sell it for, that it's worth, because that's why when people are actually going to come in and look and make an offer. But when we're listed $100,000 too much, they're not even aware that your property is for sale. Because if their budget's 1.2 and that you're listed at 1.3, they're like, oh, they're at 1.3. I don't want to offend them. It's too much. I can't afford that. Da, 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 da. I'm going to go and look at that other house priced at 1.2,
Yeah.
right? In that other neighborhood, whatever, and then I'll make an offer there. But if you were priced at 1.2, all of a sudden the person who's got the budget 1.2 say, wow, it's got a backyard. Wow, it's got an extra bathroom. They have more perception, higher perception of value. They'll go and look at the property. Anyways, that's on the seller side. But the buyer side is there's people out there right now willing to take less. They really, and they just don't want to list it lower, and their agent isn't skilled enough to be able to show them why that's going to actually help them sell. And therefore, you need to throw offers out. You need to be making offers on properties that you love, not the wrong properties, the properties that you would live in, that you agree with, that are good locations, you know, that aren't stigmatized. That's a big one right now. Any stigmatized property, train tracks, backing onto the cemetery, busy corner, whatever it is,
Yeah.
very difficult to sell right now.
Sure.
Right? But you have to send those offers out and get people to be at least in the conversation. When somebody tells me that they're interested on the property, you know what I hear?
Great.
I hear, you know, when someone brings me an offer, I'm like,
Still.
John Smith from Remax over there, his clients are Sarah and Bill, and they love this home and they got a dog and a cat and that they want to buy it and that they're living right now in Leslieville and that they're hoping to move here and that they got 2 cars and that they've seen it twice. And like, it just registers with me and the seller so much more because we've actually received something that shows genuine interest. When all you do is you get your realtor to say, we're willing to pay you $900,000. Let me know if you're interested. Like I received freaking 10 calls already about the property. And it's like, you don't sound that serious. And so I'm not able to, you know, appreciate the level of interest that you may or may not have. Of course, as a listing agent, I'm telling people to bring the offer, but not every listing agent might. Some listing agents are probably going, 900? Are you crazy? Are you stupid?
Yeah, that's
You
fine.
don't
Fuck
know this
off.
area.
Yeah,
But I'm
fuck
just saying,
off.
as a buyer,
Yeah.
you have to take matters into your own hands, put that offer out there so they know who you are. And guess what? When they're sitting around the dining room table, they're going to be like, maybe we should just sell it for Darryl for 900. Honey, we've been on the market for 3 months. You know, I'm trying to move up north.
Yeah.
I'm trying to go see my mom. I'm trying to figure this out. Daryl's willing to pay us 900.
Well,
Darryl is prepared to close in January.
Yeah.
Darryl said that he'd buy the home with no conditions.
yeah. But you got to make sure
Personalized.
if you're a seller, especially right now, okay, you have to make fucking sure that Darryl is not borrowing the money from like a private lender because that market is a fucking disaster right now. Okay. You want Darryl to have an approval from
Yeah.
RBC or Scotia or TD, one of the big banks,
This
right?
This is applying to these conventional mortgage type of people.
Well, you
How do you
have to
get
make
how do you get the
sure.
best deal when you need to buy? When you're buying this market, no matter what.
Well, so is it possible? So somebody put up on Twitter, they put up a sale of a house that lost $500,000 in 6 months. They closed and then they sold 6 months later. And then the explanation I was given was that the buyer must have backed out of the deal that they had, and then I don't even understand the whole
If it's the same
explanation.
seller's name, then that would make sense.
No, like there was a sale and then there was another sale 6 months later. Like that's not a
Yeah.
foreclosure.
On the MLS, it could
Is that a
happen.
foreclosure?
On the MLS, it could happen because the sale's like there and they didn't register it as deal fell through, which
No
they could.
terminated?
They
Okay,
could write
yeah.
to Treb and say deal fell through, and they could remove that. I've had
So
that
you
happen
could
before.
be like the seller, you need the sale desperately. You're like in foreclosure or so close to foreclosure. Like if this deal doesn't go through, they're foreclosing on you, and the buyer disappears for whatever reason, financing dries up, whatever, and then next thing you know, you're foreclosed on, and they take the hit for you.
Yeah,
Really?
and you
Is
sue
that
the buyer.
happening? Is that
Oh, so
happening?
okay, last story here because I think we're coming up to the end
Is
here.
it the
All right.
answer to my question?
Okay, sorry. The question was, is that
Is that
happening?
happening?
No,
No?
that's not a real thing.
Okay, I
It
didn't
can
think
happen,
so.
but it's not like, oh my gosh, we've got an epidemic. When people are making contracts, they're closing on them, except for
Okay.
a guy named Chris.
Chris,
The Toronto Real Estate Board this week sent out an email to all its members that a buyer acting under Chris, Christoph, or Christopher has been touring luxury properties in the Durham area, making firm offers unconditional, not bringing the deposit, producing false documents, producing a
did you say
story,
luxury in
Lu-
Durham?
whatever it is, the most expensive properties in Durham,
Okay.
the luxury market in Durham. And members are to watch out for anybody posing as a man named Chris, Christoph, or Christopher, because
Chris.
he does not have the intentions to close nor bring the deposit to these properties.
What's
And
the
people are
point?
saying, why?
What is he doing?
Why is Chris such a jerk?
Yeah. But
And
hold
my
on, they're like
experience,
accepted offers and he's just not.
accepted firm offers, and he just doesn't bring the deposit. And of course,
What?
they're waiting, and they're like, "We're gonna sue him," and then he just doesn't close, and then they're just like, "Oh,
We're not.
what can we do? Who is this
Yeah.
guy?"
Chris
Generally speaking,
Christofferson?
it's a mental health issue. It's the delusions of
What?
grandeur. I dealt with this before with somebody with bipolar, and I get a call that says, "I want to buy a $15 million house," and I said,
Was it my
"When
father-in-law?
when do you need me to pick you up?"
Yeah.
Okay. So eventually, I booked some houses in um, Forest Hill. All of them are in Forest Hill. And he gives me an address to pick him up from, which I later found out to be a halfway house. Okay,
You pulled up and you were like,
for like the legally sick people, maybe not criminals, but people who are sick. I don't know if it's a halfway house or not, but it's a special house for people who are mental illness. First thing he says to me is that he's got some sort of mental illness and stuff like that.
oh
We
my
go there, and he
God.
like knows the agents. He's like, yeah, we know from the Four Seasons country. Like he was like all in. I was like, man, this guy's for real. He's just maybe got some mental health problems. I don't know.
Yeah,
Anyways, he's like
that
my
makes
best friend
sense.
now. We talk about every few months, but it was delusions of grandeur. He doesn't have the money.
Right.
He thinks he does. He tells me all sorts of stories that he thinks that he's got the money, and I understand him now more. And honestly, I like talking to him. Like he pumps my tires a lot, so I call him. He says, "Tika, you're the man. You're the best agent in the world. You're number one. You're gonna make it." So
Oh
like I'll
God.
talk to him every few months, right? And he calls me. Sometimes I call him.
That's
Long
funny.
story short is it taught me a lot about
Too late.
psychology of those type of individuals. They
Right.
don't go around looking at properties for 500,000. They go to the biggest, the best, the most expensive, because
Just
deep
for
down
fun.
inside, they really believe that they've got the money. They really believe that they are
It's coming. It's
the
coming.
prince, the heir, the whatever it is. Like
They're
it's
saying affirmations daily,
it's
TK.
not
It's
even that.
coming.
It's mental illness, and they know they're sick, but they don't know they're
So
sick.
they're
It's
just
just
like, what
it's a
am I going to do
confusing.
now?
It's a
What am I
confusing situation
what am
to
I going to do
explain.
right now? I'm just going to go look at houses I can't afford.
So they make offers. They make offers. I just had
Oh,
one there that I busted. I had that lady who came and saw my property. She made an offer over, 8 digits. It was a big on one of my listings, big offer. And then the agent told me the whole story, and I said I trust him. Then I
I
met her, and I cracked the case open right away.
I
I was like,
gotta
this
be
lady's a
honest,
fake.
TK. But I gotta be honest with you. I
Yeah,
mean, can I tell you how many times I've been that guy to go see what like
making a firm.
somebody's
Okay,
not the
showing
firm
is different.
offer.
It's the offer
Going
part.
to
That's the
look at the
difference.
stuff that I'm
Okay,
definitely never gonna buy,
okay.
acting like I'm a fucking billionaire.
Like
So
I
I
said, mental
right?
illness.
Mental
So today's
illness.
show is brought to you by
Dun, dun, dun,
Ozempic.
dun. Ozempic for mental
Ozempic.
illness. Is that a thing?
I
Does
heard
that
it could
you gotta
increase
be
the size of the
mentally
male
ill?
genitalia. That's another thing that I said. I don't know why that came up in my
How
feed.
did you know that? Yeah.
But anyways, it's been a
Brought to
good
you
show
by
today.
Are we done? It flew by. TK.
It flew
There's
by.
so much stuff I needed to talk about. And
We'll
you
talk about
just
it next
kept
week.
talking. Well, it won't be relevant next week. And I'll have new shit that
What
you
can I
won't let
do?
me talk about
Uh,
next week.
Good, good. I'm
God
happy to
damn it.
interrupt you next week.
Well, I'm glad the skits are back, TK.
Me
I'm
too.
glad the skits are back. I'm glad that you're such a good sport when it comes to skits. Hopefully, people enjoy it. They've been asking, TK. They've been
Yeah, we
asking.
love Doug Ford. Just so everybody knows, don't
Doug
get it.
Ford is great for business. That's for
Don't
damn sure.
think we don't think he's the best leader of the Ontario population. He's the best guy we got.
He's the
That's
best
the truth.
guy we got. And
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt that for business owners, I mean, it's hard not to like the things he's trying to do.
Yep.
I mean,
Absolutely.
all of us probably just wish, he had a little bit more tact and subtlety, but I mean, hey, shit's getting done in
They gave
Ontario.
him they gave him two eggs and some chocolate chips, and they're like, bake us some cookies there, Dougie. He was
That's
just like,
about all
I'll
that's
do the
getting
best that
done.
I can.
Yeah.
And it's just unfortunate what he's got to put up with.
It's got to be hard. Like I was at City Hall actually a couple of days ago, and
Well, you don't have to tell us why.
well, I won't tell you why, but it was a
Yeah.
very interesting conversation. And part of it was like, I said, hey, like, what's it like dealing with this mayor?
Yeah.
And like, it was funny because, I mean, I don't think she has a good public persona. I think most people assume that she's on something, and I feel like they're right. Like,
Yeah, she's got a socialist agenda. Brad Bradford's
I
now
think she's
putting his hat
drunk.
in the race, so he's got a year now to be able to promote himself in his campaign. So Brad
For
Bradford
mayor?
for
Oh,
mayor, yep. So if we can get him on the
oh,
show,
wow.
that would be
That'd be
cool.
great.
But Olivia Chow hasn't
Ooh.
put her hat in the ring, so we'll see. But we'll talk about more about that
Is that for
another
real?
show.
Is Brad Bradford really running
Yeah,
for mayor?
yeah,
Oh,
he just announced it.
fuck. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Ooh. Chris Spoke knows him pretty well. Oh,
Okay, reach out to Chris.
I'm gonna read. I speak to Chris all the time. I
All
spoke to
right.
Chris yesterday. You know,
Guys, if you're watching the show, like, comment, and subscribe. Check out the Clips channel. Check out the Skits channel now
no
because there'll be a
skits
new
channel.
video on
No
there.
more skits channel.
Don't check out the Skits
That's a
channel. We don't have a
pain in the
Skits channel
ass.
anymore. No,
Yeah.
we don't have it. They cut that part out. If you'd like to book a call with me, there's a link below for a 15-minute phone call. Daryl, what are you promoting?
Substack. Check out my Substack. That thing's on fire, bro. Fire.
Good content.
People are paying me for that thing now. This is
I
getting
love
out
it.
of hand, TK.
I
Great
love it.
content. That's the goddamn truth. Well, I had a whole bunch of positivity to spread, but I mean, Lord knows nobody gives a shit about that. Most people don't believe it. When I talk to them and they're saying, like, you're being positive, they don't get it. But I guess
We're
we'll
not
save
pumping the
that
market.
for
We're not
another
pumping the
time.
market.
No, we're not pumping the market right before I start selling stuff, TK. That is
Okay.
foolish.
Next week, let's do a whole episode, and all we'll do is
Pump the
pump the
market?
market as if like it's about to explode again, and we won't talk anything negative.
No, I don't think that's the case.
Let's see
but
how the
there is-
views are.
There is some positivity. Next week,
Okay.
we'll have a rainbow and a unicorn on the thumbnail, TK. But
Okay.
for this week, it's fraud, and even more fraud.
See you next week.